My most viewed video, which at this point has a little over 40,000 views on it, is how to start selling used books on Amazon FBA. Well, this video gets a tremendous amount of views, even up to today, and it gets a lot of questions. And so I'm going to go through and answer a lot of these questions that tend to be reoccurring or repeating questions. Hopefully I could just answer them here, and then this video will find its way to the people that asked those questions. So with that being said, let's jump into it. I'm going to throw the question up on the screen here every single time I find one to read, and then I'll answer it kind of off the cuff. First one we have right here is from Music Matters. It says, if the book doesn't sell right away, how much will Amazon charge to store your books in their warehouse? Generally, this is not a super expensive charge, but if you have tens of thousands of books in the warehouse, then it can add up. Storage charges are generally based on the size of the item. The more cubic footage it takes up, the more expensive for the storage, because you're basically renting storage space. So Steezy Gamer says, I don't get it. I go to scan books and literally says FBA fees are like $8, so there's no profit. That is true. So generally for the standard average size book, your FBA fees are going to be anywhere from $7 to $10. I mean, 10's kind of on the high end, but $8 is about right for FBA fees. What this means is you're not finding super profitable books. You need to find profitable books that you can buy for a couple dollars and sell for 20 or more dollars. You really want to be honing in on the 20 to 30 or 50 or $100 books. That's where you're going to make the majority of your money. Now, that being said, when I first started out, I would take anything that would return like $2 or $3 or $4 net profit after fees and everything. Of course, you know, you sell the book, Amazon takes their cut, plus the FBA fees, plus all the other stuff that they take. And it, like, basically I was saying, if I paid $1 for the book and I could walk away with $3 or $4 per book, that was good for me. And I would just do thousands of books that way, and that's how I made my money. That being said, that's great for beginners, but once you advance into it, you really need to be paying attention to making sure that you maximize and making sure you get top dollar books so that you can walk away with the most profit possible. I also responded to this commenter and said, if you can scan 2,000 books in 1 week or in 1 weekend, depending on your schedule, and walk away with 50 to 100 super high profit books that have low rank, man, you are doing excellent. That's awesome. The whole goal here, the whole plan, the whole strategy with selling books FBA is volume, volume, volume. You want to scan tens of thousands of books per month, literally tens of thousands of books per month. Scan as fast as you can and pull those books that are going to bring in maximum profit. Michael Mandy says, has anyone heard of Next Level Ninjas? I was told they help sellers to get good rating and to build sales rank. I have heard of Next Level Ninjas. I'm not sure what they're all about. I know that Amazon has cracked down on people getting fake ratings for their products, or people trying to leave reviews for things that they didn't buy. Like, you have to verify that you actually bought something before you can leave a review. And I think, I'm not positive, but like maybe this is one of those cases where there are groups out there where they will send you something for free, and then you review it and you leave feedback, and then you return the item, or you buy it and you review it and then you return the item. And I don't know, stay away from all that. Just be a good salesperson, sell your stuff, do a good job, and earn your ratings and build your sales reputation. Brenda Wilson says, thanks for the content. What happens if a book doesn't sell? Do they eventually charge you warehousing fees? Great question, Brenda. Yes, that's exactly what happens. So the first 30 days, I believe there's no fee for the warehouse. But if it doesn't sell within that first month, then you're going to incur some fees. And generally speaking, anything that is a 70,000 rank or lower has a very good chance of selling within a week or two. Even that might be kind of a long estimate. When I first started, my whole goal was staying under 100,000 rank for every book that I bought. And then beyond, like as it grew, then I would kind of reach out a little bit towards like the 200,000. And as I learned rank. Kristen Garcia said, hi, this was a great video. A few questions. You are scanning very quickly, so I'm wondering how you determine which books are worth buying. Starting out, I would use my phone to scan. Do I use the app you suggested and look through the specs before deciding to purchase or not? Also, once shipped to Amazon, are you paid once they sell or once Amazon receives them? Thank you. These are really good questions because I had the same questions when I first started. When I very first started selling books on Amazon, I thought you went out and bought books that rang up as profitable, and then you sent them in and they paid you for the books that you bought for Amazon. It's not the way it works. So we'll answer that last question first. Once you send your stuff to Amazon and they check it in, you wait. Once the item sells, you get paid. Basically, Amazon is not going to assume any risk. They are not going to assume risk. That is for sure. I've found it to be that Amazon is only concerned about one party, and that is Amazon. They're not super concerned about the seller. They tend to be pretty concerned about the buyer, but they're really only looking out for one party, and that's Amazon. And so you kind of have to try to ride the wake of Amazon. Think of it like this. You are on a speedboat. The speedboat is only concerned about going fast and being the speedboat. However, that speedboat creates wake behind it. If you're a wakeboarder or a water skier, you can ride that wake, the wake of the boat, and you can go forward with them. But if you fall off the wake or you screw up or you make a mistake like I did, that boat is going to keep going. Amazon's not concerned about the seller. They are concerned about moving the Amazon machine forward. So they're not going to assume any risk, especially for the seller's sake. They are going to only pay you whenever the item sells. Going back to the beginning questions that Kristen had, starting out, I would use my phone to scan. That's perfectly fine. The phone tends to be a little bit slower if you use the camera because you have to click the button for the camera to open every single time, and that takes a couple seconds. But with a high-speed Bluetooth barcode scanner, link in the description if you want to pick one up. Also, I have a great video about how to use these scanners in the card above. By using that Bluetooth scanner with your Scoutly or Scout IQ scanning app, then you can go much faster, and it takes literally like split seconds. Like if you have a good connection and you are moving and you are dialed in, it's split seconds, and you don't have to stare at your phone screen to get all the pertinent information. You just listen out for the ring. Like most books, I would venture to say 90% of books are duds. And so you're going to hear that whenever the book's not good. It sucks. But then you're going to hear that cha-ching, and that is the sound that you're listening for. And when you hear that, then you stop for a second, you look at the prices, make sure it fits your margins. And if it does, you throw that book in the basket. And if it doesn't, you move along. So that's how I scan so fast. But starting out, for sure, use your phone. But I would highly suggest getting a scanning app that plugs into the Amazon database so that you get all of that valuable, pertinent information. If you're interested, there are a couple links in the description of this video where you can get some free trials for these apps to see what works best for you. Right below that, T. Han, this is what I mean by some of these questions are kind of repetitive or showing up a lot recently. I see you scanning so fast. How do you know which is good or not? Is there a screen that tells you if it's a good book? Yes, your phone, because when you use the scanning app, it lets you know all of that information. This question was very interesting. Jacob Irizarry, I think. Jacob Irizarry. Thank you so much for this. I found a book where the author signed the interior. Would I then classify it as a collectible? Very good question. I have found that signed books, in my opinion, everyone's opinion is different, everyone's experience is different. In my opinion and in my experience, signed books did not really do that great on Amazon, just because I think people aren't really going to Amazon for the signed books. However, I would list my signed books on eBay and they did tremendously, way better. I remember I sold actually 2 copies of President George W. Bush, his book Decision Points, which he had signed in the front. I paid a couple bucks for each one, and then I sold them. I think I sold one for 75 and one for 80 on eBay. So you have to pay attention to also who the author is. You know, if you found a book that was signed by Stephen King, that might be worth, I'm just like throwing a name out there, that might be worth some money. If you just find a random book that's not, like, the author is not out of this world famous or popular, then maybe not. Generally, books that are signed by presidents tend to pull some heavy weight when it comes to reselling for profit, because I mean, whether you agree with that president and their policy or not, they are literally a president of the United States. Like, no higher office can be held in the United States regardless of who it is or when they served in that office. A president is a president, and that's something to be respected and revered regardless. So those books that are signed by presidents do really well. Anytime I see that book, Decision Points, out in public, I always look for it. Even if I'm not scanning for books, like even if I'm not even looking for books that day, I always check it to see if it's signed. If it is, that's an easy $50+ that I can sell it for on eBay to scoop in some profit. All right, Casey Bannister said, do you put the poly mailers in the box with the books? Thank you for this video, by the way, so detailed and helpful. Looking forward to viewing more of your content. I don't put poly mailers in. So what they're asking here is, sometimes you'll have a split shipment and a couple books will go to one warehouse and then another shipment will go to a different fulfillment center warehouse. With this, you know, I'm not gonna have a huge cardboard box with 2 books in it. That's kind of dumb to me. So what I would do is just put it in a poly mailer and send it out. I do not put the poly mailers in a box. I just put the label on the poly mailer and out the door they go. This person, Maddie Thomas, says, hello, thank you so much for sharing. This video by far has been the most helpful. Appreciate that. One question though, for printing labels, do you use a regular printer or do you need a special label printer? If so, what kind? And at the time, I was saying I just use a regular inkjet printer. I actually since then have purchased the Dymo Label Writer 4XL, which is a monster. I am so pleased with this label printer. It is incredible. And best of all, there are no stinking ink cartridges to have to buy. I cannot be happier than with this. It's amazing. Link in the description if you want to check it out and pick one up yourself. Let's see, we'll do 2 more questions here before we close this video out. Here's this question from C. Nauth. How are you able to turn a profit with FBA when the pick and pack fee is around $5 per item plus other fees? I'm scanning books I have sitting around home and I'd be losing money if I listed them. The books are selling around $7, but with the fee calculator, I'm coming out in the red, even without adding in the shipping to the Amazon fulfillment center. And then right below that, Corey Upham said, I'm running into the same problem. It looks like I'll be basically paying Amazon to sell my books. Well, this goes back to what I said in the other comment, like 90% of books, most books you have in your house, unless they are textbooks, are going to be junk. Like they're going to be duds. Don't get it twisted. You're not going to go into Amazon FBA book selling and think that like nearly every book you scan is going to be profitable, because it's the opposite of that. Nearly every book you scan will not be profitable, and you're going to have to really dig for those good books. I responded to this comment and I said, you have to find the profitable books that sell for $18+ on Amazon. I found only about 7 to 10% of books that I scan are worth selling on Amazon. Most books that people keep in their house are no good to sell on Amazon unless they are high-end college textbooks. The best move would be to go to the thrift store or a library sale and use a dedicated Amazon scanning app in order to find profitable books. Just goes back to that whole thing. Like you have to go out and get it. It's not, you're not going to find this stuff sitting in your house. You know, you might find in other ways, in other reselling methods like shoes or clothes, you might find some of your shoes and clothes are valuable to sell on eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, those kind of apps and websites. But generally, the books that you have sitting in your house, unless you have like a lot of self-help books, like I have up here, a lot of money-making books and books about economics and self-improvement, like those are profitable books, but I only have a handful. Most books that people keep in their house are not going to be profitable books. So you have to get out of your house. Doesn't matter how many you have in your house. Plus, like, it's like I said, like you need to be scanning 10,000 books a month, 2,000 books minimum per week to be able to find the profitable books to start making money and make it worth your time. I doubt you have 10,000 books in your house. If you do, then you basically live in a library, and that's pretty awesome. But that's 10,000 books a month. Like you need to be doing this a month in order to find and to build a sustainable book business selling on Amazon. And then Corey Upham came back into this question and said, for someone with low volume, would you recommend not doing FBA and just doing FBM? And I said, yes, absolutely. For lower volume, I would absolutely suggest FBM, fulfillment by merchant, to ensure more money stays in your pocket. And then I notified them I just put a video out this past week or so talking about doing FBM during Q4 of 2020. That video explains my thinking when it comes to comparing FBA versus FBM, especially when it comes to Q4 2020. What this means is, so if you're not able to be going out and doing tons and tons of volume when it comes to selling on Amazon FBA, if you don't have the time for that, just stick to selling FBM, meaning you hold the books at your house, you offer free shipping and a competitive price, and even after the 15% fee that Amazon takes, and after the shipping to the customer, you still make more money than if you were to ship into Amazon FBA. Because with Amazon FBA, you're shipping into them, and then you're being charged the pick and pack shipping fee, plus your selling fee, plus any storage fees that you accumulate. So this just makes it a lot easier. If you're doing low volume and your time is limited in regards to how much time you can put into the business, then yeah, just do FBM. It's much easier that way. Guys, I hope this video brought value to you, and I hope it answered some questions that you might have on your mind. If you haven't already checked out this video, how to start selling used books on Amazon FBA, click the card above and you can check that out. Remember that down in the description are links to the scanner as well as the different tools and apps that I use. Those apps linked down there have free trial periods. I highly recommend that you take advantage of those and jump through. You have to click through the link in the description in order to get those free trials. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, be sure to leave a like for the YouTube algorithm. If you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing. And then as always, keep selling, get the bag, and I'll see you on the next video.